Li Keqiang expresses confidence in Hong Kong's competitiveness. More arrests in the Kevin Lau attack case. And satellite images of what could be aircraft debris in the South China Sea.
Good evening. The annual session of the National People's Congress wrapped up this morning in Beijing. The delegates voted on 7 items, all of which were passed with more than 2,400 yes votes. They also endorsed the resignations of Wang Xiao and Chen Xixi from the NPC Standing Committee. Among the key items put to a vote was the Premier's government work report. Premier Li Keqiang then fielded questions on the state of the country at a news conference at the end of the 8-day meeting. Jenny Lam reports.
Gone is the mention of some socialist-style market economy. Instead, the Premier described a market-driven economy under the Communist Party's leadership, burdened with all the pressures of a globalized economy.
Was this so-called money squeeze in the financial sector. Interbank lending rate exceeded 13% at one point. But the thing we have to fear is not the difficulty itself, but the lack of preparedness, just as only a sharpened axe can cut through firewood.
Saying that the economic growth target of 7.5% is flexible, Li Keqiang stressed that employment is the priority.
I paid visits to some zero-employment families. When none of the family members has a job, the entire family is listless and hopeless. Well, each year we need to add urban jobs by over 10 million.
The Premier acknowledged that corruption is the bane of everything from pollution to unfair rent collection tactics, promising further delegation of power from central to local authorities and the streamlining of the government. Li Keqiang drew analogy from an American book on how to deal with change.
In the course of reform, the vested interests will be shaken and some people's cheese will be moved, so to speak. For example, in the course of power delegation, some government departments will find fewer powers in their own hands. And in boosting market competition and easing market access, some existing companies will feel greater pressure.
China is a country under the rule of law, he said, and regardless of the seniority, corrupt individuals will be punished. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
On foreign affairs, Premier Li Keqiang talked about the need to focus on common interests and put aside differences. He also talked about expanding Chinese exports to Europe. And on Hong Kong, he expressed confidence in the territory's competitiveness.
The Premier's response to a question on Hong Kong's competitiveness was not the usual recitation of edicts. Instead, it was a simple promise of continual support.
The mainland is opening up its service sector. In this field, Hong Kong has a strong leading edge. A pavilion that is close to a pond will get the moonlight first.
On relations with the US, the Premier talked about unleashing the huge potentials between the world's biggest developed and developing nations.
The wise people will seek common interests, while the unwise ones will focus on their differences. Whatever the change may take place, it should be conducive to both countries and to sound and steady growth of Sino-US ties.
On access to the European market, he says China wants to export equipment as well as the toys and clothing it is already selling. His message to Chinese companies, though, is that the government gives the world its word on quality products and they should help the authorities to live up to their words. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Police arrested 2 more suspects overnight in connection with the attack on the former chief editor of the Ming Pao newspaper, Kevin Lau. This has brought the total number of suspects being detained in Hong Kong and Guangdong province to 11. Meanwhile, a concerned group has urged a police commissioner to clarify what he meant when he said yesterday that there's nothing to tie the attack directly to Lau's work as a journalist. Diane To reports.
Officers took 2 of the 7 suspects arrested in Hong Kong yesterday to the North Point police station in the early hours of this morning. Officers also made 2 more arrests early today, taking into custody a 55-year-old man and a 37-year-old woman. 2 other Hong Kong residents arrested by authorities in Dongguan in neighbouring Guangdong province are suspected to be the ones who carried out the knife attack late last month. Police believe both men are members of a triad gang. Meanwhile, a concern group comprising Lau's friends today urged Commissioner of Police Andy Zhang to clarify comments he made yesterday. Zhang said at a press conference that there is no evidence linking the attack directly to Lau's journalistic work. Law professor Eric Zheng, a member of the concern group, says the police chief needs to clarify whether he meant there could be an indirect link or the police have ruled out any connection with Lau's work. Kevin Lau himself said yesterday he was bewildered by Zhang's comments. He said in a statement that he wasn't involved in any financial problems, affairs or personal grudges. He asked Zhang to make clear what he meant. Diane To, TVB News.
Hong Kong Television Network Chairman Ricky Wong is demanding a meeting with Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Greg So to clarify policies for mobile TV licenses. Wong says if there is no reply from the government within 2 weeks, he will seek a judicial review on the issue. Rani Samtani reports.
Speaking on a radio program this morning, businessman Ricky Wong again criticized the Communications Authority for not responding to its queries. He also accused the authority of not enforcing the law.
We have been sent a letter to them like 3 weeks ago. Up to now, we received no information, no reply from them yet. Over 90% of the building in Hong Kong had installed a filter in their coaxial cable systems. That filter will block all illegal or other TVs. The cast license is required all the building install those filters.
Wong says the Communications Authority is responsible for ensuring filters are installed in buildings to prevent households from receiving TV signals illegally. HKTV's current license only allows it to transmit its programs to mobile devices such as smartphones, tablets, and laptops. Problems arose because HKTV was planning to upgrade to the Digital Terrestrial Multimedia Broadcasting or DTMB standard, which is used by free-to-air TV stations TVB and ATV. The Communications Authority fears that with DTMB, anyone using a special device would be able to access HKTV programs on their TVs at home. This would be in breach of the Broadcasting Ordinance, and HKTV would then be required to apply for a free-to-air TV or pay TV license. The authority suggests that HKTV should stick to using the China Mobile Multimedia Broadcasting or CMMB standard or use the European Digital Video Broadcasting or DVB standard. Wong says he's willing to use the DVB standard but wants the Communications Authority to clarify certain issues. Because HKTV's mobile TV license is still valid for 11.5 years, Wong said he doesn't want to change the transmission standards again in the event of a policy change within this period. Wong is now calling for a meeting with Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Gregory So to discuss the issue and to clarify mobile TV service policies. Ricky Wong says if he doesn't receive an answer from the Communications Authority in 2 weeks' time, he will launch a judicial review. In response, Danny Lau, Deputy Director of the Office of the Communications Authority, explained that there are 130,000 residential buildings in Hong Kong. Among them, 90,000 are village houses or old buildings that don't have public antenna, and OFCA cannot enforce the regulations about filters at these buildings. He also questioned whether it's reasonable to ask all these households to install filters just for Ricky Wong, adding that such a move would amount to a public nuisance. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
New developments are emerging in the case of the Malaysia Airlines plane that vanished 5 days ago. China released satellite photos of what could be part of the missing jetliner. And the U.S. suspects the plane continued flying for 4 hours after it lost contact with air traffic control. Right along the plane's flight path over the South China Sea is where China discovered images of what might be 3 chunks of plane wreckage floating in the water. Satellite photos of the 3 objects measure about 22 by 24 meters, 14 by 19 meters, and 13 by 18 meters. If true, this could be a major break for the massive international search party of some 10 countries dedicated to spotting any trace of flight MH370. Vietnamese search flights went back this morning to validate the objects, but have found no sign of the plane so far. In another dramatic twist today, a Wall Street Journal report said U.S. investigators believe the plane may have flown for 4 hours after losing contact with air traffic controllers. That information was retrieved via Rolls-Royce engines aboard the Boeing 777, which automatically sent data to the engine manufacturer as part of a maintenance program. But Malaysia's acting defense minister disputed the findings and said the U.S. report is wrong. Either way, Malaysia is looking for all the help it can get and has asked India to pitch in.
Our officials are in touch and are working out the modalities of what is requested from Malaysia and what we can offer in terms of their request.
Back at the airport in Kuala Lumpur are a battery of messages from well-wishers to all 239 souls on board. Knowing the power of prayer is strong, various religions gathered at a temple in the Malaysian capital.
So we can see the atmosphere where all the different religions were united in one purpose, that is to pray for the safety of the passengers and the crew.
But anxiety is running high at a hotel in Beijing, where the families of the Chinese passengers desperately wait for any news. With confusing reports about the plane turning back, Premier Li Keqiang pressured Malaysia to step up search efforts, saying China will never give up.
As long as there is a glimmer of hope, we will not stop searching for the plane.
And lights on a building in Shanghai is now flashing the missing flight number and the message, "We are waiting for you to come home." And still ahead in our newscast, 5 dead in a gas explosion in New York City. An alleged herb and dry seafood shop scam in Chim Sa Choi, and a Nobel Peace Prize goes to auction.